How did you feel the first time you heard your music on the radio?
Well, I hated my voice. In fact, I sang the whole first album kind of like this. I wanted it to be a little bit more bluesy and not so breathy and young sounding. But it's always the kick because, you know, the idea back then is to make it big, which means being on the radio and not playing the local bars and playing where the other bands that you look up to play, you know, like the Orpheums and so forth. So it's the rush of a lifetime, you know, hearing your stuff on the radio, and once you get over your personal indifferences. There was a time there when I remember trying to write songs, and I think I was following other people's formats, you know, and that not working, trying drugs, that'll inspire me to write. That not working, finally coming upon a guitar player like Joe that would play a line that was something unlike anything I'd ever heard on a record before, like that whole it was the kind of thing that what works for me as far as songwriting goes, what Joe has to offer is something I've never heard before, so I throw a line on it that consequently is not like something else that's ever been heard, and then you have a marriage of some new stuff.
So, you know, Stephen's like, you know, like if you have your dog, you know, and you start howling, and if you hit a few notes, the dog just automatically like kind of clicks in and starts howling next to you, you know what I mean? And Stephen's like that, you know what I mean? It's like he can hear a lot of different music, but when I start playing something, if it gets him howling, then it's like, you know, we're on the right track, and it's a natural thing. It's not something you can force, and it's not something that you can, you know, like say you can figure out, you can formulate, you know, on paper. It's like some kind of, it's a vibe, you know what I mean? And I think that whenever you have, you know, it's like really, it's really good fortune that, you know, like we found each other and it works like that, you know?
Is there a typical American rock and roll lifestyle you think bands like yourself and like Nugent exude to the people?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Ted's another one, but no, Ted's a real good friend of mine. He's doing good. I think he's still out on tour. Like I say, there's not many bands that go out. There's a lot of bands that have this, that have a melodic sense, you know, deep melodic sense of the word music. They're not playing enough rock and roll. The great lost Aerosmith weekends over a bag of a Coke or whatever, drinking too much, or I didn't remember whose house I was at or who I was stooping. You know, now in the past. Toxic Twins are just a name given us for being so high for so many years, you know.
Actually, I think it was Spin Magazine, in one of the random notes kind of things, they called us the Toxic Twins or something. And then right about that time, Stephen and I were in rehabs or something, and my wife had some T-shirts made up, the Toxic Twins World Tour. And it just listed all the rehabs on the back, you know, the various stops around the recovery land, you know.
200 or so deaths per year on the street with China White, a pure heroin. Now, you've been there, you know what that's about. What are your thoughts?
I OD'd on China White because it was so good. I shot a load up, it was too strong, and when you're a junkie, you want the good stuff. And when the good and the street stuff is not so good, it's cut with, and when you get the good stuff and you're shooting it, it's all over. If you hit your bottom like I did and you want a way out and your arms are sore and it's the summertime and you're wearing long sleeve shirts because you got tracks up and down your arms and you're feeling not so good and you're afraid of AIDS and you just had it, you're at the end of your rope, there's NA and there's recovery places to go and turn it around, and that would be the only message that I've got.
Be involved, millions of dollars involved you are, so I want to know where you guys getting your kicks from right now.
Well, after being, you know, around as long as we have, we're obviously not in it for the money, or we would have stopped about 10 years ago, you know. So, I mean, we're into it for the music, you know. As far as I'm concerned, it's just another company putting out the records, you know.
Find out what rock and roll is all about. It's like a disease that gets a hold of you. And nobody knows how strong it is. It will last you forever, rock and roll. But yeah, the stance, the character, how you pull it off, it's a real strong thing. It's like a drug, right? Music be the drug. You know, I've always felt like I'm pregnant when I'm doing an album. And of course the end product is Permanent Vacation, the album, which is, you know, a piece of art, a piece of work, if I may say so myself. Because I was doing, we were doing about a song a day and I would take the songs back. We're in Vancouver. And I put on my headset and then my roller skates, and because I own the town at night. When you go out at 12 o'clock to 1, you can skate everywhere and nobody bothers you. And I'd be listening to the outtakes and the intakes and all takes. And I have to pull over, and a couple of times I cried. It was so good. So I'm real happy about this album.
When Love in an Elevator came out on Much, it had difficulty. And it finally went on the air. But what I want to ask you about is when you make a video like that, do you know that it's going to have problems before you send it out?
Positively, that's why I wrote it. You know, with that in mind, I thought, well, we're going to get a lot of SHIT for it. And I said, hey, that's what it's all about. No. I once heard that Confucius say crowded elevators smell different to a midget, and I just elaborated on it. I don't know why I did it. You know, it's like, if that's an unhealthy fantasy, to make love in an elevator, then I don't know what, but I think it's real healthy. Well, everybody sits in an elevator like this, right, and looks at the numbers and pretend like because they're uncomfortable. It's like, how you feeling in there? F-I-N-E. Sometimes I feel like I'm still detoxing. I lived on the other side of the moon for so long. And that when you take a real good look at the people that make it, that don't, I mean, we talked about it really freely on the last couple albums to the point where I got really sick and tired of it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with passing the message on that, you know, that I'm a survivor. But when you really see how many people didn't make it, how many people still don't, it makes you get real humble. I'm not sure if I would be sober if he wasn't, or the rest of the band. And we're really tight in that. And that it's a miracle. I mean, it's a miracle that we're here.
Living on the edge, you talk about risk-taking. When you're not doing drugs anymore, and you're not living the kind of excess that you lived before, what defines risk-taking for you now?
Shooting wheatgrass. 2 at a pop.
Waking up in the morning.
Waking up in the morning, I was gonna say. It's like,
these days, you know, and stepping out in the street. Living in LA was definitely a risk, you know. 3 months in LA was, you know, you can't even watch the news there. You know, the 6 o'clock news is like a body count, you know. That's what living on the edge is for us. I mean, that was where we got a lot of inspiration for it.
Having my house burned down, a son born, and flying to LA to do the album in the middle of the riots kind of like spun us into the edge-dom. That's the good thing about music. If music is the strongest drug there is, which it is, you know, it can take you away. You put the cans on, you know, and you get lost and dance between the music. You know, it's songs that, you know, we could sit here all day and talk about what songs mean to us, but that's not it. It's what they do for someone. It's something it's in the ear of him who hears it or her who hears it. You know, it's what does it do for them? Well, how does it get them off? Does it get them off? You can sprinkle it with la-di-das and all kinds of sweet stuff, but, you know, what does it do for them? You know, is it groovacious? That's what really matters, you know.
De Lestat, La Tyler. We will take you to the dark side of Aerosmith.
Like, are some of the best songs the ones that just...
They always are.
Like that?
They are always the quickest. To me, it's the ones that really do it. You know what I mean? Because that's like, usually it's an explosion of some kind of emotion that just happens. And that's when you really feel that thing where you don't really have anything to do with it. You're just a conduit. You know what I mean?
What kind of a high is that when you're in the middle of that?
Well, you're not like really in possession of all your faculties at that point, because, you know, like you're really something else out there is speaking through you. You're just being there. You don't know. I mean, you know, you just wake up like everybody else. You go down there, and all of a sudden you play, and this thing comes out, and you go, oh, how did I do that? Well, you didn't do it. You just kind of like, you're just wide open, and it just comes through you. It's like you're just like an antenna, and the shit is out there, and it just kind of comes through, because you can't really take any responsibility for it. It's not like you sit there and go, well, today I will make magic. Well, that's not what happens, you know.
When did you come to that personal revelation about the light
at the end of the tunnel? Maybe you?
Yeah.
When I realized I wasn't as fucked up as everybody told me I was. Or maybe that I thought I was. I think that I got so out of it in the 70s, and I wasn't quite sure what I was. In fact, I remember a therapist once asking me, "What are you?" or "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm loved by my mom." That's something really dumb. And I went way off on this tangent. And I think that I survived all that. And I know too many people who didn't. And it was all based around that you can do it, and that the light at the end of the tunnel may be you. And it's not an oncoming train. And the power of positive thinking, and life's a journey, not a destination, and all that stuff really is candy for the brain. The glass is half full and not half empty. All that's the spiritual side that I needed to fertilize. I needed to cultivate, so, you know, because that's how songs are grown.
Nothing is ever a given with this band. It's like, which songs did you want to have on there guaranteed?
Well, you know, big ones is, what was it, consist of 12 songs? How many is on there?
I don't know, 15, I think.
You know, and the given is your hits. You put the hits on there.
Yep. And then?
And to make them work, it just depends on what order you put them. And then it's all the extra, you know, chafe that's the buzz for me. You know, it's those 2 songs. We wrote 5 or 6 new songs in a space of 3-4 weeks, 5 months ago. And 2 of them we picked to go on this album. One is called Walking on Water, and the other one is Blind Man. And that's the buzz for me. Yesterday I put the radio on and I heard Blind Man, and I thought, I mean, it's so great to be on tour and have your stuff come out when you least expect it. You hear little bits and pieces of things that you wrote in the studio a month before. It's kind of like the buzz that you get when you first put your album out. And the songs you wrote 5 or 6 months before, and suddenly you're hearing it on the radio, and people in that coffee shop there singing the chorus line. It's a real kick.
I got to hand it to you guys, Joe. That was an impressive display. You just came in close physical contact with 400 enthusiastic and, of course, polite Toronto Aerosmith fans. What was that like for you?
Well, it's a little different, you know, not having a guitar between me and them. You know, it's kind of strange coming and not playing, but it was a good chance for us to see their reaction to the record, because we really haven't had a chance to play it for many people yet. You know, it's really not going to be out for a couple more weeks, so.
Why do you guys do this? You don't have to do this. I mean, you're established. You don't have to get up close and actually have people hugging you and stuff. You don't have to do it, but you do.
Well, you know, I think one of the things that we lost in the late 70s was a respect for our fans. And after losing everything that we did, and we were lucky enough to come back, we kind of, we ain't gonna let that happen again, you know? So every record that we put out, it's like starting from zero again. We never like sit back and go, well, everybody's going, well, you guys are at the top of the heap now, and blah, blah. Well, that was last year, that was the last record, that was the last tour. We got to go out there and start over again, so that's why we're here.
The album's out March 18th.
Yeah.
It's called 9 Lives. It's very eclectic sounding, but it's pretty well straight ahead, unadulterated Aerosmith, which is good.
It's a guitar album. Get it back to the guitars.
Well,
and Steven gets to sing, too.
Your voice is amazing. There's pitches there that I haven't heard previously.
I think every record he starts to get a little more, you know, his octaves go up and his bottoms go lower, you know what I mean? It's cool.
And it was very eclectic sounding too. It sounds like after 25 years, you guys are still having tons of fun, still willing to experiment.
Well, as soon as we opened the can with Taste of India, kind of, you know, let the floodgates of that Indian type of sitar thing in, and it's the perfect mix.
I was hearing rumors. I'm sure the band was hearing rumors being leaked from different things. I think, was it a case of, like most rumors, they're just simply wrong?
Well, which rumor?
There was a few of them.
It was all a big...
Joey was involved in one. You were involved in one.
Yeah, we went down to Florida. We recorded for 5 months, and Joey was going through some stuff, and he didn't play on it. We brought another drummer in, And we listened back to the tracks. It was kind of...
It sucked.
Well, there you go.
It clearly sucked, so we wanted to fix that, so...
Some of it sucked.
Diplomacy
See?
out
Yeah,
the window.
The fight could happen right now. Some of it did and some of it didn't.
Well,
but we
it's
went back
TV.
to New York and we recut it again, and it's what you hear.
Once again, the Shakespeare of salaciousness, I've heard.
Soliloquy.
I've heard. Great lyrics once again. A lot of favorites that I have. Falling in Love, my old libido has blowing a transistor.
I feel like I have been hit.
What's your favorite lyric from the record?
You ain't that good as what you said down to the letter, but you like the way I hold the microphone. Sometimes I'm good, but when I'm bad, I'm even better. Don't give me no lip, I got enough of my own.
Yeah!
I'm thrilled to live to rock for another day.
Yeah, every time the plane lands, we just kind of go, whew, we've got through that one again.
Yeah, that's long.
You know, I mean, we've got so many air miles, it's ridiculous. I don't even want to count it, you know. But I don't know, longevity is that we're here doing this today, and tomorrow we'll be on stage again, and that's all we think about. You know, all that other stuff is just so much wreckage that you leave behind, you know. Good and bad, I don't know.
I guess one of the opposites of longevity would be growing old, and we're finding that we can have some control over that. And if you don't let your soul and your heart grow old, then you'll have longevity.